now.
Hi, everybody. I'm Chloe Maidley. I'm one of your coaches of the EC method.
And I am Emma Story Gordon. I am your other coach of the EC method, and we are back for an extra episode because there were so many questions on the self-assessment, which I think is usual for the first week, really, isn't it?
Yeah, we do, but the thing is that we get a lot of the same questions, so it should be fairly simple to get through them every week.
Yeah, so I've tried to weasel out ones that I think we've already answered, or if we don't answer your question exactly, but we've spoken about the same thing, I probably won't ask it, but I'm sorry if it's like if you need any clarification, obviously just ask in the group. But aside from that, yeah, it probably it will have been answered, just maybe not exactly how you put it. Okay,
Yeah,
first
like
question.
if you're
Oh,
asking us how many fats and carbs you should have, we've talked about it.
oh yes, we have many times. Okay, I find myself saving calories for a couple of alcohol drinks in the evening, and then I'm okay. Wait, I think we've actually done that one. Sorry for this stop. Okay, I'm hitting my protein every day, but my carbs are high. I know you say as long as we hit protein, it's fine. But should I lower my carbs next week in case I don't see any results? Okay, well, we literally just went over that one, so that's probably okay. As
We'll do
in,
it like super
super
quick.
quick,
Hit
go.
your calories. A calorie deficit is what you need for fat loss. Within that calorie deficit, we want you hitting between 100 to 150, kind of somewhere in that bracket, grams of protein. When you're getting your veg in every meal, if you can, if it's appropriate, some fruit would be great too. It doesn't matter if you have higher fats and or carbs. It doesn't matter as long as you're in your calories and you're ticking those things. If you will see that in round 2 you're not losing and you haven't been losing, you didn't lose in week 1, feel free to take a little bit off your calories, but make sure that you're getting your NEAT in, your 10,000 steps a day, because that is going to be the biggest calorie burn for your buck, and make sure that you're smashing the workouts. But yeah, look, if you're on the higher end of a deficit, feel free to come down. So say if you're on 1800, feel free to come down to 17 or 1600.
On that point, I had a chat with Debs in the group about your step count goal because the question was basically, I've got a little bit of time. Should I do my workout? Should I get my steps in? And I was saying how it's like choosing between two of your kids. Like they're not the
Yeah,
same. Like they're their own thing and they have their own benefits. So my advice was get the workout in and you can try and get more steps tomorrow. But I
yeah,
think Debs had interpreted what we said because we're always like get your 10,000 steps a day. In an
yeah,
ideal world, you get your 10,000 steps a day. If you get a bit more than that, that's great. But if, for example, you're traveling that day and it would be almost impossible to get your 10,000 steps in, but
yeah,
you can get like as many as you can. So let's say you finish the day on 6,000. Tomorrow and the next day, you could try and get 12,000. Then your
yeah,
weekly average is 10,000. So I think people have been a bit confused about like, oh no, I need to hit that target every day. Ideally, you would, but if you don't stress about it. It's the same as calories. When we're looking at that from an expenditure point of view, it's the same as calories. So it's your average over the day. When we look at it from a health point of view, the reason we want you to like break up your sedentary time and keep active, so it's not like ideally you're not going to have 20,000 steps one day and no steps the next day, is because being continuously active is good for your metabolism and it's good for your health.
yeah.
But in terms of energy expenditure, it wouldn't matter if you had like 20,000 steps one day and no steps the next day, or 10,000
Yeah.
steps each day. Like that's going to burn the same amount of calories.
Yeah, I think the blanket statement, guys, is that obviously if you want to burn fat, you need to be in a calorie deficit. Obviously, a lot of people are still saying things like, I want to get toned. And I'm like, toning isn't real. Toning is having an increased muscle mass and a decreased body fat. Now, that means that we want you being in your calorie deficit and we want you hitting the workouts, because the workouts will not only burn calories and increase metabolic rate, they're also going to use resistance training, use your muscle. So they are, even though toning doesn't exist, if they are quote unquote toning like workouts, they are, along with the calorie deficit, right? In terms of the steps, the blanket statement is, look, being active, getting up and moving around will burn more calories in your day than doing the exercises. So we want you to get up and do it. However, it's not kind of like a pick one or the other kind of thing. These are just like guides. Hit a calorie deficit, do the workouts, get your steps in. You kind of are going to have to take those statements from us and figure out how, when, and where you personally are going to manage to tick the boxes. And if you have to be a little bit creative with it, or you have to think outside the box, then obviously that's what you have to do. But yeah, there's, you know, the way that you achieve the goals that we set you is really subjective to you. So it's hard for us to tell you exactly how to do it.
Yeah, and even if we, like, I mean, we could tell you exactly how to do it, but again, it's like this, that would be a short-term thing. Yes, you can
Yeah.
stick to our ridiculous regime of like standing on the spot doing 5,000 steps and then doing something. Like, it has to fit around your life or it won't be long term.
Yeah.
Okay, so next question is about the diet break. And I saw, did you see the post from the grads on this, sort of talking about how quite a few of them had put on weight during the diet break and were struggling to sort of rein it back in?
Yeah.
So this sort of links to this. So it says the diet break has shown me how easy it is for weight to creep back with only a small change in calories per day. Given this, should I reduce my target weight to accommodate for inevitable weight gain when moving to maintenance?
Wait, sorry, what's the second part of the question? Say it again. Given this, should
Okay, so
I?
given, like, she knows that weight creeps on really easily. So she's
Mm-hmm.
thinking, I mean, first of all, you probably don't want a goal weight. But anyway, let's just say, for argument's sake, there's
Yeah.
a goal weight. She wants to stay at 65 kilograms. But
Yeah.
she knows that when she goes to maintenance, she's probably going to bump up to like 66,
Right.
66.5. Should she aim for 64.5, knowing that she's going to bump up a little bit?
Okay, I would say first point, exactly what Emma just said. I would never aim for a weight. I learned that by my third photo shoot prep. You can never predict what your body is going to do and where you're going to end up in a dieting phase, specifically when it comes to the scales. I mean, you really have no idea. If you gain muscle mass, it's going to go up. You know, we've talked about the 24-hour reflection on the scales in terms of water, sodium, fiber, you know, the menstrual cycle, sleep, stress. Like giving yourself a weight to aim for at the end of a diet is probably going to be quite a cat and mouse game, and I wouldn't do that. What I would say is if you gained weight on the diet break, it's most likely initially it was most likely that you probably increase carbohydrates, you increase glycogen in the muscle. That will pull on water, so you increase your water holding and you'll see the scale go up. Now if you're struggling, which I know a few people have been, to get back into their deficit, because we did say, and I think I said it in the document, being in a diet break can really fuck with your head. It's really good, it's a really good thing to do for your metabolic rate and your long-term adherence to implement them, but I would say the first one or two that you ever do are a little bit weird because you're like, hang on, I'm still dieting, but I'm on higher calories, and it's a bit tricky. And then re-entering a deficit, it'll be great for some. I always find that I then fly and I shed fat I drop quite quickly. But some people can really struggle to get back into it. So I would say go back to the deficit. Everyone knows of the grads of the kind of post diet break file that I gave you. I said you can either stay in your diet break if you're happy there, that's fine. Like you can increase the time that you're in it, or you can decrease back down to a deficit slowly, kind of re-enter it slowly, which is good for your head for some people, or go straight back into your deficit numbers and you will start losing again. And eventually, not only will you hit that number that you hit at the end of the 8 weeks, you'll go beyond that, right? So I would say go straight back into your deficit, aim to hit the number that you hit at the end of that last 8 weeks, and you will probably find that you then go beyond that by the end of this 8 weeks. But why all the pressure, guys? It's, again, we have another 8 weeks here. We've got another 7 left already. Like, it's okay. Go back into your deficit. You'll get there, and you'll increase your loss most likely. Emma, what do you think?
Yeah, it's almost funny because it's like, oh no, you mean the weights creep back on? It's like it's been a week. I wouldn't have expected the weight that you might have fluctuated up with on the diet break to have gone by now. Like
No.
you've not even been consistent for a week yet, probably. So bear that in mind. Bear in mind the fluctuations. And then Chloe made a really good point about like your mindset going into it. I almost think like the name diet break is needs to be changed. Like we should come up with a better name for that, because it, like, people still think of it as like, oh, like I'm not on a diet for a week, and then you do end up sort of going over what even if you've given yourself like 200 extra calories, cool, but then it's like, oh, I can have this, so I'm having a little bit more. And I've been through it with many clients, and some of them are like, I hate diet breaks because I think it depends where you are, but like if you're in a routine, you know what you're doing, like you know your meals, you know how many calories you've got, you've figured out how to play with 1600 calories, say, and then we give you 1800, but only for a week. Sometimes it's quite hard to do
Yeah.
that. So a lot of the time, what is actually useful is, and you can do it however you like, but even just sticking to what you would normally eat for 1600 calories and
Yeah.
then like having that as your base and then thinking, okay, on top of that, I'm having whatever, instead of
Yeah.
changing all of your meal options, because then things can get like a little bit messy. I think structuring your diet break properly is going to be really important for
Key.
making sure it's right.
Yeah. Agreed.
Okay, rest days make me nervous. I found myself running or walking on these days. What is a typical rest day for you?
So I will have every Sunday off. That doesn't mean that I'm lying down doing nothing. I am, but like just genetically by nature, quite an active person. So I'll pretty much nail my steps, which is great because it just means that, I'm keeping my metabolism going, and that's great. But I certainly don't resistance train. That's the main thing. If I have a client that's like, oh, I'd like to do a little bit of cardio on a rest day, that's fine. We call that like an active rest day. But I think it's quite good for the mind as well, just to know that it's okay to switch off and not train some days. I would also say that I'm quite in tune with my body. If doing this for 8-9 years, obviously it would be weird if I wasn't. So sometimes I'll take a midweek rest day as well, especially if I'm lifting and I just know I'll feel like a lethargic and almost like I'm coming on my period when I'm not, kind of thing, for like a day or two, and then I'll get the kind of signal like, I need a rest day, and I'll take another rest day. And that's how I would recommend you do it. If you are scared that resting is going to hinder your progress, that is completely inaccurate. Completely inaccurate. It's likely actually going to enhance your progress. However, still get your steps in and stay active and stay on your diet. And I promise you, you're not going to do any damage taking a rest day. You're going to help your body actually progress. Emma?
Yeah, it massively helps your body and mind. And I think a huge thing for me that I feel on a rest day, like if you want to go for a walk, a big walk, fine. If you want to go for a run, whatever, that's absolutely fine. Like if you're actively recovering, cool. But take the pressure off. So you don't feel
Yeah.
like you have to do that. Like you don't have to get workout in that day. You don't have to hit your steps that day, maybe. Like you don't have to be particularly active that day. Just take the pressure off. And if you decide that's what you want to do because you enjoy it, fine. But if you decide, you just need a really chill day, you will train harder the next day. I guarantee it. Like you will have more
Yeah.
energy for your sessions, both psychologically and physically. So I think a rest day is really important.
Yeah.
Do you recommend exercising when you feel a bit under the weather? Or, oh, this is because I have a cold. Or is it better to rest and miss a session? If you do miss a session, should you aim to get extra steps in that day?
I think if you're feeling poorly, you need to have a rest day and just feel out what happens with your body. And if you need to have 2 consecutive rest days, fine. In an ideal world, if you can stay active and get your steps in, I mean, God, I've been awake for a couple of hours and I've already done like 1,200 steps today. And that's just, I'm not trying. I just get up and I move around. You don't have to go for a walk or, march on the spot. Just get up and move around. If you can do that, great. But at the same time, if you feel like shit and you need to lie down and let your body basically fight what's happening inside of it, that's what you need to do. And I think that is then like a short-term flip where it should take priority over your training and your steps. And actually, you know what, if you're eating in the way that we're telling you to eat, getting in your greens and your fruit and your protein and hydrating, the diet will probably actually help you get there sooner. So I would say definitely stay on the diet. But yeah, take a rest.
Yeah, I agree. If you feel rubbish, don't train. End of.
Yeah.
I've not been anywhere near my 1600 calories. I've mainly been about 1,300. Should I try to hit higher in week two?
Okay, so this is a really tricky question, and I'll explain why. If you're hitting 1,300 and you're happy and you're eating and you're hitting your protein targets and you're getting in your veg and you're having, a little bit of fruit here and there, and you feel satiated, you feel active, you feel happy, you feel recovered, you're sleeping well, There's absolutely no reason why you need to go higher than that. If it fits, it fits. It's fine. The only thing I would say is the reason why we try and start people higher and then bring them down low is because some people will find that they'll lose on higher calories. Some people will find that they need to go lower, and you really don't know. It's completely subjective to each individual, and you basically need to give everybody a good kind of starting point in terms of their calorie intake and their food intake to work down from. And also because I think some people say that they're only hitting a certain amount of calories because they're happy there, when actually it comes from food fear. And that is then something that Emma and I really want to fix and tackle, because you don't need to be scared to go above 1,300 calories at all. So that's why it's a tricky, quite nuanced question to ask. But essentially, if we're being 100% truthful and honest with ourselves, and you feel fine there and you're good with it, then it's fine. You don't need to increase it. But I'd think about the things I just said. Emma?
Yeah, I agree. I think my only concern would be that sort of food fear, or fear of going on higher calories, and that, oh, I've only ever lost on 1,200 calories before. Like, honestly, like, you're not special. You are the same as everyone else. If you weigh like 70 odd kilograms, you'll be in it. Like, everyone who weighs about 70 kilograms and doesn't just sit on their ass all day, like, your BMR is going to be more than, so your basal metabolic rate of just lying down all day will be more than 1,200 calories. So don't think that you need to go that low. And what's happening is that you tend to go that low and then you tend to binge. And the reason that you never lose weight isn't because you need to go even lower. It's because you need to go higher, thus avoiding when you overeat. And so many people try and focus on avoiding that overeating session and don't look at the root cause of why they're overeating. So
Yeah.
that's important. The other thing is that happens quite a lot, and this, like, so this isn't like, oh, you're underreporting as in you're not tracking properly. Like, it is ridiculously hard to track calories accurately. So what could be happening is that you are underreporting, and that maybe you are hitting closer to 1,600 calories. But like, as long as you're consistent, that doesn't hugely matter, because as long as you're like Chloe saying, like, ticking all the boxes, like, you've got energy, you're getting your fruit in, you're getting your veg in, you're getting enough protein in, and as long as you're doing that and you feel fine and you're exercising well and you're getting your steps in, then we're okay with that. But I've had clients who I have put on 1,200 calories who I know are on about 15, because, like, there are certain areas where they're not tracking properly. And I think that's just like, some coaches would probably know that that's what's happening, but not
Yeah.
always what's happening. So yeah, interesting one. Okay, I'm on 1,800 calories, normally hitting between 17 and 1,800. And I feel like this is a lot higher than most are in the group that I've seen. Not sure of loss yet, as I haven't weighed myself due to being on my period and the mental battle with the scales. Should I be weighing myself to make sure this deficit is working for me, or is measuring enough? I already feel healthier, less bloated, and already mentally and physically stronger. Okay, well, I think, given that you feel healthier, less bloated, and mentally, physically stronger, like, that's what we want. But those things are quite hard to measure, which is why we use like things like the scales to try and sort of be like an objective measure of these things. But we know, it's been over a million times, that they're not accurate. So I think what you're doing is spot on. The reason that other people will be on lower calories is simply because they are smaller people. So you're potentially a bigger person, meaning that you need to be, that meaning that you have more mass to maintain. Maybe you're taller, maybe you weigh a bit more, and thus you can be in a deficit on higher calories. Like, that's a good thing. You should be like, oh, great, I'm getting results on 1,800 or 17, 1,800. That's brilliant. You don't need to, definitely don't look at someone else who you don't know, especially online. It's like, oh, so and so's only on 1,300 calories. Cool, but she might be like 5 foot tall, so she's quite
Yeah.
small. She doesn't move a lot. Like, she's got an office job, and that's what she needs to be on to be in a deficit. Like, you shouldn't be wanting to be there, because she'll be wanting to be where you are. Like,
Yeah.
it's great losing on 1,800 calories. That's like, you're winning here. Crack on
Yeah.
with that. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. I agree. I think we talk about things being subjective. Maybe we just need to be a bit more layman's terms about it. Every single one of you will start to see fat loss results on a different calorie count. And that will come down to a million and one different things, from what your job is, to how many times you get up in the day to go to the toilet, make a cup of tea, check on your kit, whatever, to how much you're really giving the workouts to. Are you trying? I mean, seriously, guys, I could go on and I won't. But it's completely subjective to every individual. If you know you do not need to, I personally would like everybody to have a measure of progress. That could be waist measurements once a week. That could be progress pics once a fortnight. That could be weighing in every day. I would much rather that people didn't weigh in once a week. In fact, if you're not going to weigh in every day, and you'd rather weigh in once a week, I'd rather you didn't weigh in at all, because it's just not going to be a really good measure of progress whatsoever. You're going to get a random arbitrary number that is going to show fuck all. So I'd rather that you didn't. So the answer, no, you don't need to be weighing in. If you feel better, if you feel stronger, if you look better, you're heading in the right direction. Now, I do want some measure of progress. So if your measurements, if you're taking your waist measurements specifically, I'm less bothered about other areas. And you notice that after a couple of weeks, it's still the same, and you're definitely measuring in the same place, then yeah, bring your calories down a bit. Add some time onto your workout, a little. And when I say a little bit, I do mean a little. And or try and increase your steps a bit. Do a little bit of all three if you can. That would be great. And we'll get the ball rolling again. But yeah, I think it sounds like you're doing really well, babe.
Yeah, I agree. I think you're
like where your head just really is important.
Okay, just to interrupt the questions briefly, we have a comment from Sarah Smith who says that during the workout day she managed full push-ups after months of box push-ups, which is amazing. Woo,
Love that. Love
okay.
that.
Okay. Oh yes, right. I've got the screenshot from this because. So this is from Kat. She was talking about. Let me find it. So she posted in the group saying she needs some help. She's stuck to 1,600 calories and protein target this week without any issues, but I've only managed to do 3 half-assed workouts. My energy levels are 0, like zilch. I have managed to lose almost 3 pounds so far, which of course I'm happy about, but I miss working out and being active. Before this plan, I was around 1,700, 1,800 calories and working out around 5 times a week. I would like to lose more fat, but I can do this at a slower. If I can do this at a slower rate with higher calories and get the effort behind my workouts back, or should I just shut up and use the numbers and calories and push myself to work out more? So I responded to this on the group because I was like, when someone comes to me with something like that, like, you're telling me that you've lowered your calories by 1 to 200 calories a day for a week. That should not cause like serious fatigue. Like, I don't think that is why you're fatigued. I think it could be something else. I was asking about sleep, which is basically where we've got to. So it'd be good to hear your input on this. She says that she does get around 7 or 8 hours a night of sleep, so that's one box ticked. But I really don't think that, and I think this is quite a mindset thing, that people think as soon as they go on a diet, they're going to be like have no energy. And 100 like when she said 17 to 1,800 calories, like 100 calories really probably won't make that much difference to your energy. So I think like I would probably, if it was me, I would give it another week and see how I feel. Like if it's still really, because it could be other things. It could be actually you're the week before your period and you were going to be tired and a bit lethargic anyway, and you were going to do half-assed workouts. And you know what? Some weeks half-assed workouts are fine. Like you've ticked the box, you've still got the workout in. What are your thoughts on this one?
It's really interesting. It's a really interesting question, and I have a couple thoughts. I would say first and foremost, unless you are extremely lean and or have been on extremely low calories for a long period of time, that lethargy and fatigue is likely not, it's not going to happen. Basically what I'm trying to say is on 1,600 calories a few days or weeks into a training plan. you have to be, and I know because I've been there and I've struggled through it, you have to be training balls to the wall. You have to be on very low calories and you have to be very lean to be like, wow, every day is a struggle. And again, I know because I've been there, I don't think that your numbers and your timeline here would incite that response. So I don't think it's that. I think Emma's right. I think it is likely another factor, which could be, if it's not sleep, it could be hormonal. It could be the change in the weather. Now, I know that sounds really weird, but I've had a lot of clients before, and this happens to me as well, and my husband as well. When the weather drastically changes, like it has done in the last couple of weeks, weirdly, your energy levels can take a hit. And actually, it's not that weird when you think about how your brain and your hormones respond to the daylight. It's not actually that weird. It could be something to do with that, a shift in the light and a shift in the weather and the temperature. I also think it could be other hormonal things like your period, for example. And if we're going to go really deep here into psychology, there is something in the back of my brain saying that you talk about how before you were dieting on 1700 and you were like smashing 5 workouts a week. It might be that you've come onto a new diet, having come from training and dieting, in quite a healthy way already. And you're kind of a bit exasperated by it. And that might lead you to be feeling a bit lethargic and a little bit uncomfortable with your energy and the workouts and hitting the diet. And you actually might need a little bit of a break. Now, I can't tell you what it is and I can't tell you what to do, but yes, I'm very intrigued to continue this conversation with you. So normally if people tag Emma and I see she's responded, I don't really jump in because you've got a great coach helping you out with your issue. You don't need 2 of us. But yeah, if you want to just respond to Emma's and tag both of us in, I'll have a little read of it and maybe we can help you out. But yeah, what I'm trying to say is I don't think it's physical to do with the calories in the training.
Oh, wait. Hey, we've got a response. Sorry, I hadn't
Oh.
actually read this bit yet. So she says, pulled my big girl pants on and got on with it. Defo mindset switch helped. Boom.
Oh.
There we go.
Yeah, psychology.
Problem solved.
Never underestimate your psychology and your mind and what's going on in your life. Like, I know that if James and I are having like one of our weeks where we argue, which happens sometimes and it's fucking carnage, it's really hard to like smash a workout because mentally I'm a little bit frazzled. And that can apply to so many things. It also applies to work when I'm editing my books and I'm on deadlines and it happens, a couple times a year that there's a big deadline coming up. I find it really hard to get through my workout and smash it because I'm like, oh my God, it's almost like I'm in a state of fight or flight already before I even go to the gym. So if anything, it just makes me want to get out of the gym. Psychology is a huge factor. So definitely like do some mental digging.
Yeah, especially if you're stressed and you've got to do something else like after or with work or whatever, and you're like, oh, should I be doing this or should I be doing that? And then, yeah, you never get a good workout in. Okay, do you have guidance on heart rate during workouts? What should we be aiming for? We want to see your effort, not your heart rate. So that's all we want you to focus on is your effort. Don't worry about heart rate. The only like kind of interesting thing would be to look at your resting heart rate and see if that's improving. But again, it might not improve because you might already have quite a low resting heart rate, like you're quite fit already, which means that you might not see that much of a difference. But yeah, that's sometimes interesting, but your heart rate during a workout isn't particularly interesting. Although saying that, when I rode, we used to all do spin together and we all wore heart rate monitors and they'd be like shown at the top of at the front of the spin room, which means you cannot cheat. Like you cannot be like, oh yeah, I've turned mine up, like I'm working so hard. And what I really liked about that is that even though like someone next to me might be smashing out like a much higher output than I am at a higher gear or whatever, but we're working at comparatively the same effort given our heart rate, which is quite interesting. But we're not doing that here, so it's not that interesting. And also because we're not like, it's a bit more interesting when it's like a cardio exercise because you can see your different heart rate zones and you might know how that relates to things like your critical power, which is like your lactate threshold, where you're going into more anaerobic metabolism and you've got all these like, once you cross over that threshold, you have a limited time at which you can exercise at that intensity. So things like that are quite interesting, but we don't have that kind of information, nor do we need it like to lose weight and get fit and healthy.
No.
So
Agreed.
Okay, I was going to do a video for this. So it's a question about how to work from going from kneeling press ups to full press ups and a rough time frame. So the time frame's quite a hard one. Like Sarah Smith has just said that she's done it. It was a couple of months. And it can be a couple of months, it could be a couple of weeks, it could be a week, depending on how close you are to that. Also, like if this is a goal of yours, like if I have a goal like that, I will do it every day. Like
Yeah.
maybe not as many as you might do in a workout, but you might get up every morning and do 20 push-ups, see how many of them you can do full and then how many of them you can do box. If you're doing it every day, you'll get quicker.
I'll tell you my push-up story, right? So I would always do like half push-ups, always. How long have I been with James? 6 years. So like 2 years in, I was still doing box push-ups. Right? I was like not, but I never really wanted to like smash out loads of push-ups. Like it wasn't really a goal of mine, so I would never really push myself. So I do them maybe like once or twice a week, and I would just like half-ass it. And I was always like, oh, I can't do full push-ups. I don't care, it's fine. Then Then I went to a Six Nations rugby dinner with James, and I did something. I can't remember what I did, but I like broke a rule. I like drank a drink with my left hand. And Dylan Hartley made me get on the floor and do 20 push-ups, and I did them like that. Just did them. So what I would say is, obviously, you have to build up to it physiologically, but you'll probably get there a lot quicker. You'll probably find that you can smash out like 10 full push-ups quicker if you like really put the pressure on, because I had no choice, and I was in fitness at the time. Like I had to smash out 20 push-ups, and I did. So I think like put yourself in like a do or die. Like
go live in the group. Tell us you're going to do it,
yeah,
and then do it.
And then do it. Yeah, because I reckon it would like pushing yourself. Like if you've already kind of built up a little bit of strength and you kind of your body knows the modality of the exercise, you're probably going to be able to do it a lot sooner than you think. So yeah, that's my funny story.
I've had that so many times with clients who are like, I can't do press ups, and I'm like, just try, and they're like, I can't do it, and I'm like, you're literally doing it and same with pull ups, like, no, I can't do a pull up, and I'm like, just try, see what happens, and they're like, oh my god, I did too, and you're like, you've been working towards that for so long, like, why don't you try? Like, try every morning, even if you only get to the floor, like, that's fine. Go slow to the floor, see how long you can like do an eccentric hold to the floor. That's great as well.
Yeah.
So don't sort of talk yourself out of it before you've tried.
Yeah.
Can you really eat what you want? Okay, right. Now here's an extreme version of what we were saying. Can you really eat what you like as long as you hit your calories and protein? I know you keep saying this, but today I've had 4 chicken breasts, 4, and 4 glasses of wine. What?
What, that's it? That was the diet for the day?
Yeah.
No, babe.
No. And also that wasn't what we said, was it? Didn't we also say like fruit and veg, make sure you have a balanced diet? Like what a day though. What a day. Also, 4 chicken breasts.
But hang on, let me do the math here. 4 chicken breasts and 4 glasses of wine. That would bring you out at your calories.
Yeah.
Okay. No. So
but then in terms of macros as well,
the analogy.
In terms of macros, it's probably like
protein. Oh my god, it's actually a really good question. It's actually because numerically it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is like why doctors say to pregnant women, you cannot drink when you're pregnant. When the fact of the matter is, you can have the odd glass of wine when you're pregnant and be completely fine. But they give them a blanket no. And the reason they give them a blanket no is so that people don't go, oh, the doctor said I could drink wine. Pound wine, pound wine, pound wine. It's the same thing, okay? So we could give you a blanket statement and say, hit your calories, hit your 100 and 150 grams of protein, hit your X amount of carbs, and hit your X amount of fat. And, this percentage of carbs needs to be fruit and veg. And we could give you like specifics. But the fact is, it doesn't have to be that specific. And if we did that, you'd likely not be able to adhere to the diet. So what we say is calories, protein, veg, some fruit, right? And then you can, if you can squeeze in a Kit Kat or a glass of wine, great, absolutely fine. It doesn't mean have 4 chicken breasts and 4 glasses of wine and you're good to go.
I'm impressed though. I am impressed, and I feel like I should name and shame, but I don't know if that's appropriate.
Is it a grad or a newbie?
I think it's a newbie.
I mean, I would hope so, graduates.
I know.
You'd be in way more trouble. But it is actually a good question, to be
Yeah,
fair.
yeah.
And she's not actually like, I mean, we did say fruit and veg and every carbs and fats.
But
Actually, for
hey, grapes in the wine, antioxidants, tick tick.
yeah, but I think doesn't wine have it has like red wine specifically does have nutritional benefits, but I think they start to reverse if you have more than a glass or two. Like as in you
Yeah,
kind
I
of
think it's like there's a benefit of the antioxidant content, but then also as you start drinking more, your cancer risk goes up.
exactly.
So that's like
So
one glass every now and again is good for you. But
yeah.
saying that, like you can get antioxidants anywhere else. Like if you're someone who doesn't drink and you're like, oh, should I drink red wine for the health benefits? No. But if you enjoy red wine anyway, like there are some health
I'm
benefits.
I am happy for everybody to have a glass of red every night. I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. If you can fit it into your calories, I don't think it's going to lead you to being unhealthy. But the problem is that a lot of people can't only have one. And the problem is that just like this girl has done, although, fair play to you, you probably misunderstood what we were saying, is that then what happens is your other nutrient dense foods will take a hit so you can fit in alcohol. And these are things I don't want to happen. But if you can fit it in and you're doing everything right, fine. Have one glass of red a night is fine.
Okay, you've heard it here first. Okay, I have always struggled to go above 4 workouts per week purely through motivation. Is it okay to do? Oh, this is quite a long-winded question, but yeah, 4 workouts a week are fine. She's basically saying she's got
Yeah.
very long shifts 2 days a week, and it's very hard to fit in the fifth workout. But the thing is, as well, like, although the workouts are Monday to Friday, as we've said, like, do them whenever you want. If you want to do one on the weekend, great. Like, then you could still get 5 in if you want to. But 4 is excellent.
4 is great. And if you're doing like really long shifts and you're getting your steps in probably, or you're active at least, you're probably doing enough as it is. Actually, just quickly, there was a bit of a discrepancy. I don't know what word to. Anyway, the newbies wanted us to do workouts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 because I think it was Fiona said that some of them were getting really confused, and then the graduates were like, no, 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 we love the Monday through Friday workouts. Please don't change them. And at first I was like, oh, we can do both, and then I suddenly realized you guys get different workouts. So we can do 1 through 5 for the
Oh, yeah.
newbies. Yeah. And we can do Monday through Friday for the graduates. And nobody needs to
Yeah,
know either
although
way.
I saw that, I did see that post, and it did seem like a lot of people wanted Monday to Friday, and they liked that. And they were like,
Yeah.
I don't mind doing it any day.
We can do both. We can do Monday brackets 1, Tuesday brackets 2.
Yeah, okay, there we go. Sorted. And also, I think like that might be, and that will be more important when we go back into the gym. But at the moment, the workouts are full body workouts. It doesn't hugely matter which one you do in front of. Oh, someone's just commented saying I'm a newbie and I like it Monday to Friday.
Oh,
Oh, there'll be fights in the group. Let's see what else is going on in here.
I mean, it
Um,
would accurately reflect the world, wouldn't it?
any suggestions on how to reduce the appearance of cellulite?
Emma, I'll let you take this one. I've had this rant a few times on here.
Yeah, okay, so you won't ever get rid of cellulite. We all have it. Like, we have it. And I think the important thing to note is that you see it in a different light. So you're like looking down and you're like, see yourself sitting down and, oh, I always look awful. And then you see people on Instagram and magazines or whatever. They're never like sitting down hunched over like you would be when you look at yourself. Like, they're even like you take away Photoshop or anything, like their posture's good, they're standing upright, like they're probably sucking in a little bit to make them look as good as possible. Everyone has cellulite. So that's my first point. But if you want to reduce the appearance of it, then fat loss. Like if you have less fat, you will have less cellulite. So that would be my my thing to say, but also don't have the goal of like having no cellulite because you won't get there. And we all have it.
Haley wrote an interesting post on this the other day. Did you see about estrogen in the body? It was really interesting. But essentially, yeah, I mean that's all kind of like quite advanced scientific thinking that I mean it's quite hard to apply, but essentially she was saying it actually means you're quite a healthy female if you have cellulite, so don't worry about it, like hormonally healthy. But yeah, I mean, right, less body fat you have, the less cellulite you have. It's highly unlikely you're ever going to get rid of it completely. So if I were you, I would I would accept it sooner rather than later and make your journey a lot more enjoyable.
Yeah. Okay, let's see what else we have here.
I am finding it hard to wake up today. I do think it's the light. It's so grey here.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's like really grey outside.
Okay, my biggest concern is that I'm not meeting my daily calorie limit, and I'm worried my progress will start to plateau. I also won't have much wiggle room on the calories I'm on. I feel full, I'm eating a ton of veg, I'm hitting my protein target, I'm 5'8" and 74 kilograms. Based on everything you are saying, I should be eating 800 calories, but I'm generally getting about 15 to 1600 calories and just don't feel like I can eat more most days. Not a question, just a concern. Okay, this is great because there may be a few other people in this position, and I think that's absolutely fine. The other point to make is that the reason you plateau on a physiological level isn't necessarily because your calories are too low, it's your adherence to those calories. So, for example, you will probably lose fat on 1800 calories, but you will lose fat quicker on 1500 calories if you can stick to that. The reason that a lot of people plateau on lower calories is because they aren't actually sticking to them, and then they end up binging and then the average goes up and all these things. But from like, even if you take like a really crude look back and you're like, okay, well, if going too low in calories meant I stopped losing fat, then no one would starve because
Yeah.
you'd have this starvation mode that would kick in and save all these calories from nowhere. Like, it doesn't
Yeah.
make any sense. So if you did stick to 1500 calories, and this is something that it sounds like you can do and that you're comfortable doing, it just means you're going to get to your target body composition quicker, which means we can bring you back up to maintenance quicker. So I don't see a problem with it, given everything you've said in that context. Please don't take that and then apply it to yourself if you're not in the same position as this.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with everything that Emma said. And, metabolic adaptation is something that happens to quite advanced people who have got a long history of dieting, who are potentially already very lean, who don't have much further to go, but they want to go further for whatever reason it is. It's not something that you need to really worry about in the first. It's not something that any of you need to worry about overly, to be honest.
Yeah, okay. Ollie says, so this is, I don't know why I've now used names, but this is from Ollie. Sometimes when I train, I really push it. Oh, sometimes when I train and really push it, I feel nauseous for 30 minutes to an hour after. Is there anything you can do to prevent this happening, or any signs that you may be pushing too hard?
I think this is quite normal. My husband has this. He can't eat for an hour or two after he trains because he feels sick. And it is a sign that you've pushed yourself really hard, probably likely that you did more of a fitness session than anything else. And as far as I'm aware, there isn't really a way to prevent it other than maybe the two things I would say just off the top of my head is maybe give yourself a little bit more time pre-workout to let your food digest, potentially, although that might not make any difference at all. And another thing is make sure that if you know that you're in for a session that might do this to you, maybe don't take your supplements until later in the day, because I know every time that I've wanted to vomit or vomited during or after a session, it's usually because I've taken my supplements at the wrong time that day or on an empty stomach. So think about those two things, but it's very, very normal, and I know it happens to James. And yeah, Emma?
Yeah, if I have a particularly like lactic-y session,
Yeah.
then yeah, I'll always feel a bit sick after. And then like weirdly kind of like it because I'm like, oh, I've pushed myself really hard.
Yeah.
And I will agree with Chloe, like this happened to me yesterday. I took um my supplements, including cod liver oil, with and then I had some coffee. So I think it comes in that capsule. I think it like melted the capsule in my throat, and then like every time, like as I was working out, I would like burp and I could taste it. It was the most disgusting thing. So
Oh, it's disgusting.
would not recommend
I
that.
like I've had to have James pull over the car before because I've taken my supplements at the wrong time so I could vomit out the car door. And also, here's something that happened yesterday. James has this really annoying habit of taking the supplements out of the pots and then instead of taking them like a normal human being, putting them in his pocket. Then he'll wear his pants all day, put them in the wash, and I'll wash them. So I did this. This is not the first time this has happened. I did this the other day, took everything out the washing machine, put it in the dryer, came in after my workout, sweaty and gross, got naked, went into the dryer, put on his shorts, right, and his hoodie, in case you can't tell, I wear all his clothes, and his hoodie, came into the living room, stood in front of the fan that was on, and the waft of fish oil, it like hit me like a punch in the face, and I was like, what? What is happening? Like, we went down, smelt the shorts, and it was like they'd been sat in fish oil for 10 years, and I was wearing, and I was like, oh, it's disgusting. So yeah, maybe move it.
Oh, yeah. I love how we've somehow got from that question, but yeah. Basically, not a good idea, guys. Stay safe. Okay, question from Katie. I've suffered with digestive problems for a while and I'm starting to up my protein, but I'm getting bunged up. I drink a minimum of 3 liters of water a day. I'm eating veg. Any tips? Oh, she also says, I'm careful with carbs anyway, as they bloat me, pasta, etc. I started drinking kefir. Is it kefir or kefir? Kefir?
I think would say Kiefer, like
Yeah, okay.
Sutherland.
Kefir. Like who?
Kiefer Sutherland.
Don't know who that is.
Yeah, an actor. At least I
All
think he
right.
is.
Do
Anyway,
you
carry on.
remember, like years ago, there was someone called something Kefir, and he was like the carb backloading guy?
Yes, yeah, I know
Yeah,
exactly who you're talking about. Yeah.
that was like
Yeah.
the first diet I ever did, carb backloading.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't suggest it to people, but he like basically it was so sciencey as well, which is why I loved it. But then
Yeah.
there's all this science that you can say, but then it's like, yes, but calorie deficit, it
Yeah.
like augments all of it. Basically, if anyone wants to know, the carb backloading diet is essentially you don't eat carbs all day, then you train in the evening, and then you eat carbs. And the reason I liked it is because it was like, yeah, you don't eat carbs all day, train in the evening. But then he was like, the higher glycemic index carbs are better post workout. So
Yeah.
I'd always have like a pastry after my workout.
Nice.
Oh, it was a dream.
Nice.
But obviously, I was in a calorie deficit because I got amazing results from it. But he would talk about how, oh, when you train your GLUT4 receptors, come to the cell surface, which means they can take in more glucose. All of this is true,
Yeah.
but it's just like, yes, but the context, there was no like, it was like, yeah, but
Yeah.
real life, yeah.
That's like all diets, though. A lot of them work, but there's no explanation as to why. And like this is what with my more advanced plans, with the Gem Pop, it's more like just be in a calorie deficit. You'll probably get the body you want if you can adhere to it. Okay, so how do we make them adhere to it? There
Yeah,
you go.
that's the
There's your
skill.
answer.
Yeah.
It's when you get somebody who is like a performance athlete or who is really lean or has a lot of like gritty, grainy, old school muscle mass. That's when you can really play around with specifics like that, like carb backloading, or like carb cycling or any refeed days, things like that, and you can have so much fun. But if you just are like, I want to look like that girl from Love Island, it's just a calorie deficit.
Yeah.
Those girls like starve themselves before that show, by the way. I spoke to one of them the other day and she told me they were on like 800 calories a day for months before they went in that house. And I was like, that's why you all look so different when you leave. She was like, oh yeah, you can't maintain that. Anyway.
Jesus. But also, you never see them eat on that. Like, I mean, a
The
little
whole
bit.
thing. They're so funny, that lot, honestly. Like that when they tell you some of the stories that what actually happens in Love Island, it is very interesting and not remotely what you watch. But okay, wait. So what was her question? I feel like we went off on a tangent and we didn't
I think
answer
we
her
did
question.
slightly go off on a tangent.
Shock.
Okay, we were talking about kefir. She says she started drinking kefir 4 weeks ago to help with my gut health. I'm not sure it's working yet. They said 3 months. What are your thoughts on this? P.S. Can't believe how I've taken to this plan. I've always been fine with exercise, but nutrition has not been good. I find this so straightforward. I'm eating loads and it's working. I feel brilliant. You girls are amazing.
Thanks, babe. Okay, so my thoughts would be if you have a drastic change in your fiber intake, as in you suddenly start eating loads or you suddenly start eating none, or really anywhere in the spectrum of change of your fiber intake, it can bung you up. Or it can have the opposite effect and make you very, very regular. So it can wreak havoc with your digestive system, in which case this is why we say consistency is key. Your body will level out. Try and keep it consistent, and eventually it will level out. I would also say Simprove is a probiotic that I drink every morning before breakfast. It is a great probiotic. I cannot recommend it enough. It came very highly recommended to me from my nutrition god, Matt Lovell, and I am passing the torch. You absolutely should look into that, because obviously it does sound like you have some GI issues. I presume you've been to the doctor and you know that you're not celiac, and you know that you don't have IBS. But if you haven't gone to the doctor and had it looked at, I would do that. And yeah, those are my thoughts. Emma, what are your thoughts?
Doctor, definitely, if this has been a long-term thing. It does sound like things are improving. Like, it says that you feel better, you're able to eat a lot. And what Chloe's saying is right, is sometimes like people always think, oh, more fiber is good. Not always, and not for everyone. So do be careful that that might be something like that you're eating potentially too much fiber for you at the moment. And then when it comes to things like kefir and probiotics and things, there's a difference between gut health, and so that will help you. You know, they've said it takes 3 months to help your gut health. That's different than like if you have a problem. So if there's like IBS there, or there's some kind of inflammation or something that you're reacting to, then that's the kefir and these kind of probiotics, they're going to help your gut health, but they might not help with like a problem that you have, if that makes sense. So you might want to, go speak to a doctor. That what they'll probably say is, if you're having these problems, keep a good diary of what you're eating. If they can't identify it from that, then you're probably going to have to do what's called the Fodmap diet, which is, and if you are going to do that, message me, because I'll put you in contact with someone who can help you. Because a lot of doctors just, like, I've had clients who've just been written like Fodmap on a piece of paper, and that's like, they've just been like, look this diet up. Like, this is probably one of the
So
hardest diets to stick to,
yeah.
because you've got this, like, so basically you eliminate a lot of things that are high in FODMAPs, which may be triggering some kind of response for you. And then you have to bring them in one by one. Now, during this time, you have to be so strict, because otherwise you don't know if it's, the onions that you ate, or the apple that you ate, or the mushrooms. Like, you have to be really strict at bringing these things in and then excluding them again. And it's a long, tedious process, but if you do it once and you do it right, then it could change your life. Like, if you're someone who really struggles with this stuff and you realize it's onions, it's like just onions and it's always been onions, then or it might be two or three things, but you exclude them. Like, your life is going to be much better with no bloating but no onions than it is,
Yeah.
and it might take you a couple of like months/weeks or to figure that out. But if you do it right, then it's definitely worth doing. So that would be my suggestion.
Love that answer. Brilliant answer.
Ideas on flavoring chicken.
I love smoked paprika. I also love like doing like homemade garlic butters. And also you can get like chili infused oil or garlic infused oil or basil infused oil. Lemon's great. Emma.
I love Cajun spice.
Yeah.
Like, that's really good. And also with like these spices, you don't, like, your food doesn't have to be bland, but these spices are like barely any calories. Whereas if you're like, oh, and I also love sweet chili sauce, but if you smother it in that, then you do add quite a significant amount of calories, which is fine. You just need to be wary of that. Whereas if you're just putting on spices, like, barely any calories in that. So I would say definitely spice for food. I love Cajun, fajita. Oh, you get these really good bags that, like, you put. Have you tried them? I think it's
Well,
called a Maggie's bag. Put
you
your
shake
chicken in
it.
it. Yeah. And they're
Yeah.
so succulent after that if you cook it in the
Yeah.
bag. So much flavor. So I would try those. There's like loads of flavors of those, but I think my favorite is barbecue, just so you know.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm on an average of 1,600 calories. I'm 5'11" and currently 85 kilograms. So I have a lot to lose. That's all right. That's why you're here. but I am already pretty active. I run 4 times a week and 2 times high intensity interval training workouts before starting the plan. And I also have PCOS, so potentially have a lower BMR. I've lost 1 kilogram this week. Would you
Wow.
recommend lowering calories or giving it another week or two? What? Like,
What? Why would
what?
you lower Okay, right. Everybody listen. If you are losing weight, and I don't even care if it's minimal, if you are losing weight, do not lower your calories. You don't need to change a thing. We only need to look at changing things when you have not made any progress whatsoever after being 100% adherent for 2 or 3 weeks. If you're losing, you stay put. End of discussion.
Also, 1 kilogram in a week.
Amazing.
Like, that's a fast rate of fat loss. Like, I don't know. Oh,
Fast.
my mind is blown. Okay, well, we've done about an hour. Should we wrap it
Yeah.
up?
Yeah, because I'm so desperate to pee, I can't even begin to tell you, although I still feel half asleep, so I don't know how I made it through that.
Okay, excellent. Thank you guys for the comments. Hope everyone enjoyed this.
Yeah, and we will see you guys tomorrow at 12.
Hell yeah. Hope you're not bored of us by then.